2017. Welcome to another episode of Redacted. I am joined here with Bored and Twerk17. And they're not talking this time. Amazing.
Have we started?
We've started. We've started.
Shit.
Where am I?
What's going on? What do I do with my hands?
What's up, man?
How goes it?
It's going. It's going.
How's your game of PUBG going there, Twerk? Calling you out right away. Straight away.
Look at him. Look at his face.
I'm just standing here.
Pachinki,
It's funny because it's normally Bored like 90% of the time playing
Yeah.
some game.
Whoa. I don't know what you're talking about.
Listen, I can see it.
I started the game assuming I was dying, but
I can see it in the reflections of your eyes.
yeah, it's just sitting there. I'm just hoping to stay alive as long as I can.
Yeah.
But fully focused on the podcast, unless somebody runs by me. then I might click my mouse once or twice, but that's about it.
I had a quick little nap in between when I got a cup of tea a few minutes ago. So
funny story.
Upstairs.
Funny story. Source was like, should I wait for Bored to get back to start the podcast? And I was like, no, he'll be back. He knows, it's about 10 minutes before we actually go live and are on camera. He'll be back. And then he comes back like a minute ago and was like,
words.
I took a nap in the kitchen while I was gone.
I'm really tired. I'm fucking exhausted, okay?
Like, how did you wake up? Did you set an alarm?
I had some beeping or something. I thought it was the microwave, but it can't have been. You know, a fire alarm or something, probably.
Oh. How you feeling? Are you feeling nice and refreshed? Are you feeling like a
refreshed.
fresh piece of sliced cucumber?
Yeah, 5 minute nap. That's what I needed, mate.
Those are, I mean, for like, I don't know if you know, but like taking a 5-6 minute nap can.
Oh, I'm aware.
Can really revitalize you like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's depending on what the sleep time is. As long as you don't go over like half an hour or something.
Yeah, like as long as you don't go into REM.
Yeah.
And then get yourself out of it or something. I don't really know, but
interesting you say that, Twat, because I still feel like shit.
Well, you might have a little bit more energy than you did before, though.
Yeah.
You know.
All I can do is sit here and talk about Star Citizen, mate. I think I can.
Well,
Bored can do that in his sleep. He can literally do it in his sleep.
Today I've got my mother going to talk about Star Citizen. Go on, Mum. Oh my God, we could do a special episode.
First things first, and I see her in chat right now. Want to give a shout out to Elysiana for being on this week's Around the Verse. So congratulations, or sorry, they're all around the verse to me. Citizens of the Stars. Citizens of the Stars. So very awesome to see.
Congrats, Elysiana.
There, and you can go check out her stuff if you type in !Elysiana in chat. Just like how her name is spelt right there. Let me get it in here for you guys. There you go. Go give her a follow on the YouTube. Go check out her Twitter and everything right there.
Yeah. Nice job.
Yeah. This week has been interesting. ATV was
dramatic.
Yeah, ATV wasn't dramatic. But this week,
no, ATV was cool.
Last week, this ATV was actually pretty decent. I didn't get to watch it until Monday, but it was really awesome. I really liked seeing a lot of the stuff that we did.
It was a lot of show this time, which was cool.
Yes.
We were talking about it before the podcast, where it was like, it's kind of hard to set up for this podcast because it was like a lot of quick,
like
little
short,
videos
little
of like cool stuff that they're working on.
Things that could be made into GIFs.
Yeah.
Really easily,
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess if Twerk, you want to take it away, I'll get this stuff up and going here.
Yeah. So the first thing that was like relevant that we put in there, because there were some things that happened earlier that we're actually going to talk about a little bit later, because they were the user interactive system, but was the character status system, which we've seen quite a bit over the last like couple weeks of them talking about it and showing little bits of it. This time they gave a little bit more detail where they said they're putting in the last features of the system. So procedural breathing and suit punctures were the last features. And once they go in, they said they were going to put it into the game. I assume that means their game branch. I don't know if it'll be in 3.0. Right. There's so many things on the schedule. I don't have it super memorized.
There is certainly some of this, such as stamina, for example.
Yeah,
that will be in 3.0.
It's really interesting to see if you can, and you can, see on the video that we're watching here on the right-hand side where it says active breathing style is a default or in recovery, right? So it shows that. It's saying how long that's in that time for, the G-force pass out, the G-force stress, G-force breathing in and out, lung fullness, breath held, recovery, exertion, oxygen level, stamina, blackout, blood oxygen levels, breath airspeed, breath volume, and breath duration are all parts of that. And those are just the audio things going in with this system. So that gives you sort of a little bit of a hint of how much is going into the stamina system and this overall. And so it looks, for something that's what you would consider a fairly simple stamina system, right? After a certain amount of time running, you're out of breath or whatever. It seems quite in depth.
Status system now.
It's like a status.
So this rolls in a lot of the environmental effects and everything that can affect your character in any way, shape, or form. Basically, it's the entire stuff. The entire of your. I assume the medical system will actually roll into this as well.
Yeah, because they were talking about suit punctures and stuff. Like, I know that's not necessarily medical, but that's going into those kind of aspects. Because you're going to be able to fix your suit, and I assume that goes into the same thing as like with meds and all sorts of things, right? But don't our MediPens puncture our suits, right?
Yeah, I don't. So the thing is with that, maybe because it's so small, the suits self-heal.
It probably like. Once it comes out, it'll fill in the hole.
It's like those
There's
tires.
All sorts of lore you could put in.
Well, they have those tires that do that right now. If you shot it, it wouldn't self-heal, but if it got punctured by a nail or something, they self-heal if they have the goop inside. So maybe you're inside your suit, you're just got a bunch of goop in there.
A goop suit.
You just got a goop
another
suit.
Way they could have a port for it, or they could you could plug meds into your mobi-glass attachment.
Or maybe like the onesies, it just has a little flap. Anyways.
I don't know. It's I think this is the biggest game changer, especially for something like Star Marine. Like,
it's going to change it a lot.
And I think it changes it in the way that they actually intended Star Marine to be.
Yeah, it's going to slow it down.
When
I
they
think
released it
in all the right ways.
It's the character status system and the full implementation of item system 2.0, giving us customizable weapons and loadouts. So as soon as we can change our guns, and it makes team play like we need a balanced team with lots of different firepower, taking out different stuff. And with this character system as well, we actually have a game which isn't generic shooter 2.0. Like, that's the problem with it at the moment. Star Marine is generic shooter.
And it's too like on the COD spectrum of shooters and not enough on the the Arma Rainbow Six spectrum.
Why not run
it? More expected it to be.
Saying that, it is actually, I have been playing some Rainbow Six lately. It is quite close to that, though, to be fair. I think that as you get a little more of the things in, the leaning, the stamina stuff,
the shields.
Well, the gadgets in general, because they have all kinds of cool gadgets in. I honestly think that it's closer to Rainbow Six than it is to Arma or any other shooter. As of right now, I have it feeling almost identical. It's really awesome. The only really weird thing is the leaning when you're not up against the wall is getting used to that, because you want to move forward, you want to strafe, and you want to lean at the same time. So it's like finger gymnastics, but it is very similar. It is very similar. The next thing that they showed,
pretty.
Then
so we saw the Prospector. Do you later on have you got about the Prospector damage states?
Yes.
Okay, so here they just talk about the Prospector audio and show it flying, and it's like tubular mouth.
It's cool. The curve on the glass is pretty wild.
Yeah, with like the reflections and everything.
Yeah, which is every time we get a ship, they're kind of like a little too reflective at the beginning. But I think I think it looks really good, and I love how they placed it in the minefield. So it's like you kind of can picture what it might be like when there is mining in the game.
Yeah.
The minefield. I love the way you call the asteroid field the mine.
Oh, asteroid field.
Because you're mining. I like it.
Good
to
to
put
your
the two together.
Just because your head's
No,
there,
good
but
time.
it
Good
does
time.
look pretty far along. Obviously, when you see it from the exterior and the front, you can see that all the animations aren't done.
Yeah, because
you
there's
have
that door hanging
The
out.
door is just sort of floating in space.
It's a feature.
Yeah. So you know it's not done yet,
It's
but
got-
you know you can
it's-
see, wow, it's coming along quite nicely. You
And
know?
the view is quite good as well. Being able to
Yeah.
see
I
down by your
like the
feet.
way the chair in the cockpit kind of hangs down from the ceiling.
Yes.
I really fucking like that.
That's some kind of stuff came in with the
Constellation?
Reliant.
Reliant.
Well, no, like with the MISC ships, with the Reliant and with the panels above your head,
Mm-hmm.
and now that's starting to seem like a constant.
Like a
with
mist
them.
feature. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with the reflections on the glass, okay, would you prefer them to say, well, it's the future, we can make non-reflective glass?
Yes.
Yeah, good. So would I. I
Yeah.
would also like that. I like the idea of...
In the
But
end,
at
it's a
the
video game.
At the same time, I understand why they did it.
Do you?
Because I
Explain
mean,
it to me then, Soros.
it looks pretty.
It fucking doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's
it
hard
looks
to.
pretty for like the first second.
Yeah.
When you glance across it, and then you're like, well, this
And
is
then you
Okay.
realize, wait, I'm playing a video game, and I need to see.
Yeah.
just looking at
It
all
could
the
be.
stuff.
It could be toned down quite a bit. I think they
Yes.
could still
Or
keep
turned
it. It
off.
could be.
So I want it turned off. I mean, it's starting to annoy me a lot of the time now. I think, oh, that's a.
I think if they
interesting
brought the
aspect.
opacity down to like 25%, it wouldn't be too bad. Of what it
How
is
about-
now.
how
About
about
to
the-
0?
Yeah. How about they reduce it by 100%? I just don't like it. I don't understand why they've got the reflections of glass. Maybe so that birds don't ram into it and die or something. Players just try and get through it because they think they can get through it because it's a space. Lots of people break their necks, so they have to
Yeah.
make it reflective.
I mean, yeah, like there's anti-reflective stuff now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's anti-reflective stuff now. Yeah, but that's just my bugbear. It's like this is getting in the way of my enjoyment of the minefield.
And speaking of ships, how about that reclaimer though?
Oh, holy shit!
Right?
Mhm.
That
It's so
mean,
big.
I was expecting
Like,
it to be
remember the
big,
Starfarer?
but yeah, this
Remember
is
the Starfarer, and you were like, "Wow, it's so big,"
this
and then
is
you saw
so
that, and
much
you're just like,
bigger.
So, I mean, I'm not breaking NDA by saying there is a lot more you haven't seen of the reclaimer.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
exciting.
It was-
I came back from my tour and went, I'm buying a reclaimer now.
The grinders are pretty cool.
the grinders are really neat. I can picture myself just dropping things.
I can
people,
picture dropping
items.
people in there, yeah,
Yeah,
throwing them over the
And just-
railing.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm really tempted to buy a wood chipper while I'm waiting for the reclaimer to be.
Just to practice.
Just put models of ships in. So
I mean, that's really cool. That's actually, I don't know. I didn't picture that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I thought this would be sort of where the mouth is. You know what I mean? Like where it brings it in. But I don't
lots of
know.
mouths and things going on.
Yeah, I'm not quite
Phenomenal.
sure where the claw obviously extends out like it just showed. And it grabs it, but how does it bring that in? Like how does it
I feel
consume the
it-
ship?
I'm sure it brings it in to
Underneath?
like a. I don't know where, but I think above. If we'll see it again when it pops up.
I would expect it to be above the claw arm and
Yeah.
the arm to more hold onto a ship and draw.
You'll see
itself
lights
closer.
above the claw arm when it shows it again.
That-
think
that
that's where it
claw arm's
goes.
more for stability.
And then
Well, it's
conveyor
not-
belts down into
Okay.
it, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That was the only thing I didn't understand because I was picturing more of like a crab mouth, right? Where it like grabs things and puts it in.
Yeah.
Well, more of it
You know
might
what I mean?
open up. More of the bits might open up. There might be flaps that open up or whatever.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, just the arm looked really solid. But we should see right after this sweet grinder. Oh man. Those are moving
Like,
awfully fast. Yeah,
see the lights above it? It looks like enter here, right?
Oh,
Put
okay.
it here.
Yeah, maybe.
So-
But like all the sparks, they're fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I think the first thing that I would do is actually jump into the grinder for, like,
just to see what would happen.
yeah.
That's why it's the future twerk. They can revive you apparently. Jump into the grinder.
CIG is all about fidelity. How much fidelity do you think you're gonna see of somebody being grinded up by the grinder? Why not?
I think you'll just probably
was
bounce
made
around.
of 18 kilograms of salt.
It's like a food processor.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's massive, though. It is so fucking big in comparison to anything I've seen yet in game. Because they haven't sat we've seen the Idris and the Javelin. Yes, they're huge, but we haven't seen that run up to an Idris or run up to a Javelin video yet. Yeah. And just get, like, kind of mind blown. So that was just...
Having someone run up to that
fucking huge.
The issue is that if the UK studio work on a ship, it's cool, but it also gets massive.
Yeah. and that like you're not kidding. It could kind of be an issue, right? Where it's just like things keep getting too big, so many polys. How the fuck is this? How is this gonna happen? How is this game gonna happen with the ships?
The object container streaming system helps massively.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
And that's not slated until 3.1.
Well, we get the setup for it in 3.0, so that's the smashing down of the current persistent universe and the rebuilding so that it's got the mega map and any object container can be placed and used. In 3.1 and 3.2, we get the functionality of the object container system, so we'll start to see performance gains from that.
And to be clear, that's for right now, because as we've seen, there's been things on the schedule report that have been delayed, and then there's things on the schedule report that we've seen come forward, right? So you never know. It might make it into 3.0. It might make it into 3.2. It might.
My genuine new hope is that with 3.2, there is a tiny possibility the Epson game in the multiplayer.
That'd be cool.
Do you think the streaming system works really well? That will happen.
Do you think that they would put them in if they were able to?
Yes, because they said they will. That Squadron 42 isn't the factor.
Well, they said they said as soon as they could fit two in to fight each other, they would put them in.
It was supported in the network code properly.
It must have been so long ago, I forgot.
Yeah, that seems reasonable, to be honest.
Yeah. A fair comment is fair. Now, this is a good example of something that they only showed for like a couple seconds, but is really cool, is their new fog generation.
This is
volumetric fog.
Directly stolen from Lumberyard. I say stolen, integrated from.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think they can literally, with a lot of the Lumberyard updates and features, they can pick and choose which to integrate quite easily now, which is why I was excited by Lumberyard 1.9 that come out.
What I would have liked to have seen with this is from a first-person perspective and other people, like maybe another mannequin or another person in there, to see how it looks when they're coming through the fog.
I think it probably doesn't work properly yet with the lighting.
Possibly,
they've got their own light controller system. They've got their own light controller system as well. So, and you can't really see much in the way of shadows and entities there. So I think that's probably still early stages.
Yeah.
It looks really cool though.
But the fog, the smoke that they were already using was the best smoke I'd seen in any game ever. So they're gonna have to do something pretty special with the fog to make me go, why didn't they just use smoke here?
The amount of ambience and character that this is going to give, and just what is the word I'm looking for?
Fidelity?
No, not
ambience is pretty good.
Atmosphere. That's the word I was looking for. Especially in like derelict ships or a ship that, you know, for whatever reason, it has a lot of
3 spooky 5 me.
Yeah, extra spooky. And then you got the aliens running around, little critters, little buddies, coming and biting at your ankles. But this will add a lot to that, I think. So if you take something like the dual Starfarer wreck that we have now, when you put some of this in there, right, and then you add things like the flashing lightning from the engine and the flashing red lights and stuff like that, it's just going to bring so much to it. And it's one thing now to get lost in that, but going in it with fog and sort of losing your sense of direction will be.
So how many people I mean, I need to actually look this up. I want to know how many people are going to be typically will play a game on the max settings as intended. Like, is it like just 10% of people will play at this at 1440p on ultra high settings?
I will try to.
Probably.
What's it going to be like for those people that are playing on the lower settings? Are they getting the full experience? Does it give them a competitive advantage turning settings to low? And if that's the state, after people have gone, wow, these graphics are great, will everyone turn their graphics to low so they can see through fog?
It's going to depend on how those LODs work with the different graphical settings.
It's a very interesting thing, though, to think about now. Like, how are the low graphics going to affect actual competitiveness in game?
I mean, at the same time,
ships that are thousands of dollars.
You have the graphic settings now, right? And I don't imagine they're going to change.
Well, we don't
that
have
much.
The fog now.
You're right. We don't have this effect right now, but we do have low, medium, and high as basic graphic settings at the moment.
Yeah.
How much control they're going to give us over that? I hope a lot. As quote unquote PC Master Race game, it should have a lot of options and it should allow for a fair amount of accessibility. At the same time, this is something that they want to push the current hardware. They want to be able to.
Can we stop the Dizzy video?
No. I like the Dizzy video. There you go. You know, at the same time, it's something that they said they wanted to push the technology, and they wanted it to be something that, you know, there's a reason that it's not going to be able to run on consoles or whatever.
I mean,
they didn't want
I
to
definitely want that.
Yeah.
And I want it accessible to all levels, and I want it scalable as well, so that even people on medium are getting a great experience. It's just interesting to know how many people are going to play the game as intended.
Yeah, I mean,
the kind of system that you might need is not necessarily. I mean, it depends on what year this game is released and like when you actually want to take a survey of those people and who's playing when intended. But I would imagine the computer is quite expensive. You know, at the moment at least, to play the game as intended.
Something,
so just automatically, it would be a small percentage of the 1.x million players that
they're definitely not
purchased a package.
Going the route of, say, World of Warcraft, where they're trying to make it accessible to as many people as possible by making it on sort of that low, and that's sort of why they went with that art style. This is very much going to be very taxing on your system, even if you have, you know, the latest and greatest in GPUs and CPUs.
That's a tip for people thinking about buying ships. Make sure you've got hardware first before you buy pretty ships.
100%. Make sure that you're putting that money into hardware first, so you can run this stuff and not into a ship collection.
And you probably even shouldn't be looking at hardware at the moment, because.
That's also a good point as well.
So let's give you all the contradicting information.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Schrodinger's hardware.
Buy
it.
Should you be buying hardware
for
Star Citizen right now?
I don't think. No.
Get membership to a gym. Get outside and get fit, guys. Come on.
Listen,
why are you playing the computers?
Call a lawyer. Delete Facebook and hit the gym. That's what you need to do. All right.
It's a fitness podcast now.
Moving on with some lighting. They also showed some bounce lighting because of some of the technical things that's going on with planets.
Pew, pew.
So they managed to get bounce lighting working, which sounded like it was more of a technical feat than it looks. But it does make it look quite a bit better.
I don't think you would like really notice it if it wasn't there, but when you put it there, you're like, ooh.
Well, I think it's one of those things, and you see this in games sometimes where you can tell the player is even like it feels separate even from the NPCs or from the background or whatever, you know, where it has all the baked in lighting and then the character doesn't have that, so it's sort of it's not like super in your face, it's subtle, but it's something that you may notice. But this is something that adds quite a bit. So anything on the ground, as you can see, it's, you know, a light shade of brown reflects up onto the ship. It looks really good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. Good job. Good job, Sachi.
Good job on making things pretty. More pretty stuff. Some
so this is
atmospheric
one of the cooler things.
lighting.
And yeah, and this is one of the cooler things and one of the cooler explanations that they had for it as well was we've seen atmospheric entry in the Gamescom demo. It looks a little bit better. You got some engines trails as well. But what was cool that was mentioned about it was the entry effects will be controlled by how fast you're going and how dense the atmosphere is. So we likely won't see that thick of an entry. I think for the sake of the video, you're seeing it here, but I doubt we'll see it that heavy on the entries to these moons.
Well, maybe what is it, Daymar, where it has more of an atmosphere.
Yeah,
it looks like even Yella has a little bit of an atmosphere as well, but maybe not as much on Cellin. That being said, I don't think these are complete either. I think these are still a work in progress. If
pretty much everything we're showing today is a lot of work in progress.
It's because it's Star Citizen.
Something I would like to see, and I don't know how much work that would be on there, but maybe the front of the anything that's sort of breaking through the atmosphere first, where it kind of glows. You know what I mean? Like on
does
on the ship itself.
It does. Watch the video.
I always have the ship heap.
The nose glows.
Oh, does it? Okay, it doesn't really look like that.
Wait,
oh yeah. I see it. Okay.
Even the back wings do.
Yeah, I want to know how offensive those engine trails are if I'm following that ship. Because if they're subtle enough, then I think they're a good idea. Because I think it will be easier for players to track ships and bring the skill curve more balanced. Because I still want like, a high level.
Well, going into atmosphere or while they're flying through the atmosphere.
Both the actual engine trails.
Okay, well, going into atmosphere, they're gonna look like a shooting star coming in, so they'll be pretty easy to track, I would imagine. While they're flying around,
as well as engine trails, I think that's what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how easy is it to track an airplane in the sky? That's sort of what it should be close to.
Well, if I'm also in an aeroplane moving at relative speed to it, probably quite easy. Moving at the same speed. Not if I'm just going,
yeah, have your no, but you know what I mean. Like even standing on the ground, looking above you, you see the. I think that's the effect they're going for, right? So you look up in the sky, and this Gladius just looks like a fighter jet flying overhead.
I mean, yeah, I like the actual trails there with the smoke, but in space it's going to probably be different.
Yeah, in space is going to be interesting to see how they do that.
Well, I mean, at the same time, if your ship is in visual range of another ship, it's in radar range. So you're just gonna target it, and it would be wouldn't it be easier to track that way anyway?
So
there's gonna be the arrow that says
go this way. This is my issue for engine trails. Okay, say I'm in the most stealthy ship I can be in. Yeah. Yeah, and they just go, well, engine trails, and you be like, well, there's the ship. There it is.
There it is.
It's. Yeah, well, obviously some systems, some engines might not have engine trails, or might have really tiny engine trails or something. So,
yeah, maybe on the stealthier ships it would be easier to mask them or something.
Yeah.
Now, before we move forward, I just want to remind everybody that we are taking questions. So if you have any questions for one of us or all of us about Star Citizen, feel free to ask. We will do the best of our ability to answer. Exclamation point question in chat. It's going to provide you with a link, and it will post that. Click on that link, fill it out, and it will go into the form, and we'll be able to check that at the end of this podcast. We'll go through all those with you guys, and then yeah, so get them in there. Next thing is actually a few things in here. More cool lighting stuff, some explosions, some lightning.
The lightning was amazing.
The Scourge railgun.
I feel like we've already seen the lightning. It didn't look much different than the lightning that we have in game now.
The lightning we have now is like straight. Yeah, it doesn't look like that.
Okay.
It's fresh in my mind because I was there yesterday.
I haven't been there in a while.
The lightning we've got in game, I think, repeats a pattern. This would be procedural lightning.
Yeah, that's what they're planning on going with. Is what
everything is procedural now.
Everything is procedural.
Well, things like that and weather effects and whatever, if they can make those procedural.
Lucky it's not modular lighting to work.
Modular, high fidelity, procedural lighting.
Done.
Done.
Boom.
Star Citizen.
Star Citizen. Fidelity.
Question: What do you guys? How do you guys feel about the blue explosions? Do you think
Okay with it. It depends on
what's
is
exploding?
exploding.
Yeah.
They always have the blue explosions with the
Risk ships, isn't it?
the ships that have Xi'an technology.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah,
So
makes
that
more
I think
sense.
that has to do with the blue explosions. Is maybe whatever is powering the engine or something in the engine.
Gotcha.
I think that's
Well,
where
it's
the
just
blue is
power
coming
plant
from.
explosions.
Yeah.
I thought the blue ones before, but
Perhaps that you could be right about that as well. That section of the ship is exploding. That's the blue explosion. So
Now, do you think running around on a moon or a planet that has that lightning is going to be like navigating the red zone in PUBG?
I hope
Yeah,
so, because I rarely ever get hit with the red zone in PUBG.
Like if you,
no one ever gets hit by the bombs in PUBG.
yeah,
No
like
one's
it's. I have before, yeah, but if it was something like you're running around and it's not very often it happens, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever, and then your buddy behind you gets zapped, and that's it, just toasted.
And then you're like, all right, I'll get you up. Hold on, just crawl to me, crawl to me,
crawl to me, I'll get you.
crawl to that tree.
Just
It's,
That's right. I just need to drink a Red Bull to regain all my health.
Red Bull. Do you have a med kit? We'll get you to full health. We'll get you to full health.
I've played way too much of that game lately. But
not enough, man. Not enough.
the last thing was kind of cool, the charging of the railgun. I mean, it's just another thing that it's like, damn, I can't wait to play it. But
that gun needs a little bit of a trail on its bullets. Like,
well, I think that section they were only showing the test of the charging and not the actual
and the firing out of the sides
round.
Like not the actual round itself, but the.
I think that's what we were seeing in that video, because we had seen a bullet trail a while back and the audio sounded kind of dumbed down or like not powerful enough, and then this video was a little bit different. So I think they're just showing different parts of the progression and not the full package of it, I guess.
Yeah. On the next thing here, they showed more about the derelict ship system and how they're going to be doing that, how the ships are going to be pulled apart. And they were also talking about how they're going to add the weather effects and go in and have the different stuff for the different environments to make them feel more dilapidated, I think was the word they used.
This is cool. It's I feel like once we've seen the Javelin one and once we've seen, I guess basically the 3.0 demo at CitizenCon, this is kind of expected. This isn't for me. This isn't anything that was like, ooh, wow, so crazy. It's just another ship that they've destroyed. While it looks great, I can't wait to get in and play that stuff. And it's just good to see that they're doing variations of them now, right?
Yeah.
Where I was slightly concerned that it would be kind of similar to what we have in like Yella now, where it's like pretty much all Starfarers that are crashed, and it becomes somewhat repetitive. So now I feel like if they continue to work on other ships and then breaking like this, I feel like we'll get some more variation when we're running around in 3.0.
You'll get them in the same way, I believe, as you would get the procedural modular outposts. Like they'll be broken up in different parts. They're all part of a building set, which they can place in different ways.
For example, what we're looking at right now is a building set.
Yeah, but that's just one configuration.
That one tile.
Right. Yeah, so they're going to make a bunch of those, a whole bunch of different ones, like say 30 or 40 of the Constellation ones.
Well, they could even have it possibly totally procedural.
Well, that's what that's what I was going to say, is I thought they had said that before, that they were going to do the procedural wrecks and stuff like that. Everything. The procedural wrecks both on planets and in space. But this is, and maybe this is just a way for them to show what that's going to look like in game. But it is cool to see more of these ships coming in as that. I would also like to see like little parts of ships and wreckage, you know, and obviously even the bigger ships and being able to explore that, like we saw the Javelin and everything. We're also looking at the Razor and the damage states and how it falls apart and looks like an F1 race car.
I can't wait to fly that thing.
That
I've
looks
been
so cool.
racing so much lately. It's been, I love it. I absolutely love it. And this ship I'm super excited for.
So the damage states for it, okay, look too rigid to me. For
Mhm.
me, it would be the lightest thing ever, and it would crumple or just like disintegrate.
Yeah, like fiberglass hull.
Yeah, almost
metal.
like fiberglass. Yeah, but obviously being able to take the pressures of space or lack of.
Yeah.
Right, like, yeah,
Lots
some
of
sort
pressure in
of,
space
like,
or no pressure in space.
obviously a lot
No
of these
pressure,
spaceships
no
are
pressure.
being using like you know, high-tech materials and stuff like that, but you feel that race ships have just even more high-tech materials with them. I don't know.
That's what still drives me nuts about like the M50 and things like that, and them even functioning in combat. It's never quite made perfect sense to me. Like I felt like
they should disintegrate on getting hit.
like yeah.
As soon as their shield's gone or something goes through the
Yeah.
shield, it should be just like, oh dear.
Yeah, and I mean, I've even mentioned, like, yes, they should be very light on the shields, light on the armor, all that kind of stuff. But then I also mentioned something like kind of like a racing shield for a design aspect. Because every time, like, I know Source used to race a lot at Board. I don't know how much you race, if any at all.
Like the racing.
Oh, I fucking love it. But the
Like watching it, don't like doing it and shit at it.
yeah, the every time you bump a ship, you blow up.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
we talked about that before, where it would
Yeah.
be something where it would just it would act sort of like magnets repelling,
It would
or
bounce you
magnets
off.
repelling
It would-
each other, or like absorbing some of that damage, like, yeah, acting like a shock absorber or something as well.
Yeah, and then it would make more sense that they would be kind of flimsy, right, in combat and stuff like that. Because like rounds would go right through the shields or whatever. But if you were to bounce off another ship, that's what it would do.
Right, yeah,
bounce
the
you.
velocity of a round would just be too fast for it, but the velocity of
Yeah.
the movement would make it so it's able to absorb that impact.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just kind of threw in racing, but then, I mean, it's going to be a legitimate.
It was one of those things that they just sort of were like, oh, you know,
It
somebody
was
did
some
this on their
side
free
job that a
time.
guy did. Yeah, he
Yeah.
did it on his free time, but it's going to be a legitimate career. And the more I play it, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to the flight model. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm honestly thinking that that's literally that's going to be one of my main things that I'm going to be doing. I've gotten relatively decent at it, and I feel like I can get pretty close. I think number 17 on the leaderboards. I feel like with some more practice, I can get top 10 easy. And I kind of want to make sure that they remember that it's there, right?
You need,
Like
I feel like
right
this
now
ship-
you can't even choose your tracks, and I've mentioned that to Luke, and he talked to the guys. Hopefully it's fixed in the next patch.
This ship, to me, feels like it needs the Mach 5 Speed Racer skin.
I don't know what that is.
You don't remember what that is? Okay.
No.
I used to
From
watch that
Speed
show a lot.
Racer.
Yeah, the white, it was all white, and then it had the red M on it. I don't know. It's what it reminds me of. All right, I'll continue on.
Please do.
More MISC ships. We have the Hull
Yeah.
C.
Which you'd see a little bit of it, but it's more of them mentioning kind of that they're able to make them quickly because they have so many MISC assets. And I mean, this is a ship that I don't know when 3.0 is coming, but with the time, I guess with the progress that we've seen of the ship, I'd like to see this released with 3.0 and
Hull?
cargo. Yeah. I'd like to see it. I don't think it's slated for 3.0. I think it's slated for later, but I would love to see this come in with 3.0
It would
and
be
cargo
good
hauling.
timing
It would be
for
so
cargo
cool.
hauling.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It would just be good timing. I don't think it's going to make
We're
it.
more likely to get the Reclaimer than we are the Hull.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. Oh, maybe not, Board, because they are talking about it's a MISC ship. They're reusing all these assets. Look at the interior of it.
Yeah.
It's
Aegis
relatively
and,
done.
And MISC are both getting
They're pretty
But
quick.
you're talking about
pipeline work.
You're talking about a much smaller
Yeah.
ship.
Yeah, the
Right?
Reclaimer is obviously quite a bit larger.
Hull C is
yeah.
pretty big.
The
Hull
whole
C is pretty big.
Well, this is the hull B, or is this the hull C?
It's the Hull C.
This,
you're looking at.
this is
Okay.
the C. It's big, but it's not Reclaimer.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's
Mm.
big because of the extension thing, but
Yeah, it does.
the Reclaimer is
compress
big and it's got interior and there's rooms and there's all
So-
that. There's much less of that in this ship, like actual
But it does have
explorable
a.
interior.
It does have an interesting mechanic.
Yeah,
where
like that
it expands
complicated,
outwards.
animations, and like depending on how things attach to it and everything as well.
I was gonna say that I think the most complicated thing is how the cargo is gonna work,
Mhm.
but the actual opening of the ship is just an animation.
Now,
And I know I'm saying it's just an animation. It's probably a big deal. Neither of the three of us are game developers. We have no fucking clue what it takes to do any of this stuff. But I feel like building out a giant ship is much more difficult than
There's a lot of
a ship of this size,
sort of
especially reusing
physicality
assets.
going on with that ship when it expands out. Though is the issue. Lots of physics going on.
Yeah.
all
That's
the
a good point.
physics.
Basically a mechanic. Now, I mean, I'd like to see it, and it's pegged for 3.1, but it's a possibility because it's a
It looks pretty
possibility.
far along, man, and it's a possibility because nothing ever goes as planned, right? And
If anything comes early, it shifts.
it might be if there's anything that comes early, it's ships, and if there's any ship that might come earlier, it might be this one, and I'm hoping that it's this one. That's kind of the only point I was making, just because of the fact that cargo hauling will be one of the first mechanics to make it in, and I think it'd be cool.
Now, at the beginning of this animation or video, they show a couple animations. One of the 4 panels dropping down, and I imagine those are going to be for the pods,
Skateboards?
escape pods. But the first one, where it sort of opens and moves to the side, do you think that's one of the is that? You think the
I thought that was the
entrance?
side door. Yeah, the side door, just like the Freelancer.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah, I
have to see it
wasn't
again
sure
when it pops up,
what
but
it
I thought
was.
that's
It
what
should
it
be here
was.
in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it right here. I'm not. Oh, yeah, maybe I guess that is. It's just in that weird.
It's hard to see what location of the ship it was at, though.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
It's like
but
a cargo bay door almost.
Yeah. And those definitely look like escape pods.
Yeah.
The other ones.
yeah, that was the first thing that my mind went to when we saw that.
Yeah. But I mean, it's pretty cool to see 4 escape pods. I mean, it does kind of go back to Board's mention. It's a pretty big ship.
Now, these are also coming along quite well. These are the outpost internals and also the truck stops.
We've pretty much seen progress on them every week,
Yeah,
and they've come.
it's
They've
been awesome.
It's been significant progress each week. right?
Remember when they just showed the concept picture of
Yep.
this with the one circle in the middle, and it just sort of panned for a second? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
interiors. Now, the exterior of this obviously does not look very finished for the first half. For the truck stops,
No, yeah,
but
they're
they do look really cool.
yeah.
Just
And
in
these
terms of
are
their shape and everything.
3.1 or later. Things.
Yeah, these aren't
One's
coming in with.
stops pegged at the moment. I mean, it's
Yeah.
possible they could make it into 3.0 because of the way they're building them. Like they are going to be modular. They're going to keep on adding to that modular set. They've got a load of the other satellite stuff and loads of other points of interest done. And with the schedule report, as we've seen, stuff gets moved around now, and it's in quite a lot of flux based on, oh, we've got this stuff done now earlier than we expected. We can move on to this. So I'm hoping for truck stops in 3.0 now. That's one of my hopes.
That would be amazing. I
would be great.
Really, really like that. And I mean, it would help with the missions. It would help with the cargo
Would they
hauling.
put it in? Would they put it in without object container streaming?
That's a good point as well. It might require because of how the size.
Look at how
of the
big it
module
is.
finishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you imagine that they'll probably have quite a few of them. I mean, depending on how many they want to test in an area or whatever,
Yeah.
but it is
I don't
something.
know, but it's important.
It is something I'm definitely looking forward to, along with the outposts. Outposts. I'm excited to go and try and find all of them. You know, being able to go down to a moon and just try and find.
I mean, it's where this tangible gameplay that they're kind of sort of promising
Procedural
for 3.0
gameplay
to be taking place, right?
I mean, when we talk about stuff like that, I think that the main thing they need to be getting on with after they've got what they said in 3.0 ready is getting object container streaming set up. Like,
Yep.
if it's a possibility, they can get it in 3.0, then they should try their hardest to, because it's so essential for what they want to do, and they need to get it tested as early as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%.
The next thing we're going to take a look at is the volumetric particles in space, and this little vortex was the smallest little snippet. They're just
Such
like
a quick clip. But
here it
like,
is, and it's gone.
More.
You know, when we've talked about previously, they want space to be interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the sort of stuff that we will just be seeing while we're traveling in space. Like,
Yeah, you just
This obviously isn't a black hole,
no.
but what do you think this is, and where do you think you would see something like this, and how what do you think the scale of something like that is?
Yeah, it's so hard to tell from that little
Mhm.
snippet, but it can't be a nebula because nebulas don't like move like that, do they?
Well, it could be. That could be moving really, really slowly in the background somewhere.
Could it
Like,
not be an
and it could be-
exploded planet or star?
Yeah, it could be a load of
Could
different
be.
things, but yeah, we're going to see like things in the background. We're going to see like gassy electric nebulas. We're going to see spinny vortexes. Space is going to be interesting and full of cool stuff, but it will also make sense where we see it. We'll see something over there and go, "Why is something over there?" And
You
it'll
know
be
what
mentioned
I
before.
just realized?
Or-
It's a shout out to the Death Star.
Do you think so?
What do you
Genuinely.
mean?
I don't know. I was
Oh, I
just
see.
kidding, but I mean, it could be.
I hate you.
Death Star when it exploded, and it's just I'm not sure what else would look like that, because if you think about it, a planet wouldn't really look like that if it exploded. It would be in a bunch of chunks and basically look like dying moon. Or
he's moving it on Adobe Premiere, so I mean that speed isn't the speed we'd see it at. Like,
No,
that could be
right.
incredibly slowly.
it would be
or
a lot
incredibly
slower than
fast.
that. But I mean, it's also it's very planar. You know what I mean? Like it feels like a pancake shape. It
Oh, I
doesn't
see what you mean.
feel-
Yeah, it's flat.
Mhm. So I'm not sure what it is.
Also-
It looks
also
neat.
lightning.
Yeah, there's
There's
like
lightning in it,
there's
yeah.
like lightning in it. Yeah. There's some sparks. That was the thing that made me think Death Star.
Hmm.
I just think we're going to have stuff that the Endeavour can just go scan down and go, "This is a new thing we invented for Star Citizen."
And then a Starfarer can just
which-
go through and scoop it.
yeah, scoop it up.
Yeah. And then it realizes whatever's at the center weighs like as much as a planet, and it's only the tip of your thumb size. It goes inside and just sucks the ship into it.
I think that's unlikely to happen, but possibly a feature after release.
Would be neat. How neat is that? It's pretty neat. This is something I'm looking forward to so much. Totally off topic of everything else. So much for Star Marine, and when you're on foot is takedowns and melee. And,
Yeah, we saw it at the Citizen Con.
and you can see
demo.
blood.
Yeah,
There's a
on
little
that first
spray
one.
of arterial blood, wasn't there?
Yeah. And also,
Um,
I want that shooting range in my hangar, please and thank you, or in one of the levels on one of the
just
stations.
somewhere.
It would be cool if it was on like a station where you could play these FPS matches, and you also have like one hallway is just a shooting range.
I want to know how powerful your fist has to be
Right with the
Right
melee.
out.
So ridiculous.
in medium armor like that. Just bam, boom. He's just out.
Just the guy just falls like
Like, how
Listen.
many steroids does that guy take
A lot.
before that punch?
Well, you also have to
Probably
imagine
3
gravity
steroids.
isn't very strong with this artificial gravity on space stations. I don't know.
Or maybe it's
I'm
really
just-
strong.
I'm just
I mean,
thinking
that's why he
my
just
ass.
dropped like a sack of shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they are Marines.
That shooting range, though, I want the shooting range in game and a selection of weapons to pick up and fire at it. GIF shooting range, please.
It won't
Yes.
help your aim board.
This
It
was,
doesn't need to help my aim. Enough bullets down the corridor. Don't need to aim.
if we take a little trip down nostalgia lane, we used to have They showed the shooting range before as well, but we also had like kind of a shooting range with like stationary turrets.
Yep, and there's Vandal targets.
Yep.
You can mount an actual ship gun onto a three-legged prong mount,
and you like sat on it. And then also had the track for the Grey Cat. Way back when.
Pretty cool Grey Cat track.
Yeah. Smashing into things and whatever. Now the big second half was all based on the player
universal interaction system. It changes every week, the name for it, I think. But this was like a really big feature, and it was really cool. And
well, the first thing they showed, sorry to cut you off here. The first thing they showed was the render to texture thing. And what was really cool is they showed that on a drone.
By the way, I got you.
Yeah.
I noticed.
Yeah. So they showed that on a drone, and that's cool that they're able to tie that to an entity. So when you look at, I believe it's called the Mako, right? The Reliant Mako?
Yeah, that's the news van version.
That's the news van version. And if you had like some sort of, it could even use sort of some of the same animations as the Scourge railgun. If you had like a big camera, right? You could have like news crews in space that could beam this across into displays wherever. Now this is obviously in Grimhex. It looks really cool though.
Yeah.
Really cool. And it's not that other games haven't done this before. It was that it wasn't possible to do in CryEngine before. So them able to implement this in there is pretty awesome. And the fact that it doesn't need to be rendered to a flat surface either. It can be rendered to a curved surface, or it can be rendered to anything.
Yeah, they just said hologram, holo displays. This is cool. And this goes into what we were talking about on last week's podcast about third-person cameras, and it's there already. Right.
I suggest an idea and they instantly put it in game something in it.
Yeah.
But no, so this is going to be amazing for a lot of things, like potentially for gameplay, for security cameras on ships. You could literally have it as a post on a capital ship now, for scouting when you're scouting ground targets. For news in game, we can be streaming races live to someone else's TV in game. Like those recreation rooms will have a purpose. If on a TV you can watch
security cameras.
Yeah, security cameras, like literally that could be a post in a ship now.
Right? Like you think even in Korea right now, right? You don't need those things that show the doors. You could just have a monitor there that have cameras on those doors, and then you can just look at them.
It's like Sean Noonan's just like, was it Luke Presley or Sean Noonan that put those in? It's one of those two.
I think both of them. I'm gonna say both.
Yeah, but both of them. But they'd be like, oh, what's wrong with our little pond squiggles? We do have to replace it with an actual security camera. But yes, I mean they were effectively just placeholders for this tech, weren't they? I suppose. But there's a load of potential gameplay that you can have with this. This is sodding cool and saves a lot of hard drive space because they don't need to have videos on your hard drive. They can literally, as we talked about ages ago, actually, we said, do you think they'll actually have the locations in game where they'll be rendering this? Do you think that guy in the 3.0 Gamescom demo that assigns you a pad, do you think that's on hard drive, or do you think that's a...
I know what Terrellian's going to do in game. Terrellian is going to have a film crew. He's going to have all of his lighting and stuff in game and set it all up. So they're actually filming a movie in game, and you could even have it so it like they're like filming a movie. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So you can like
So
see
meta.
behind the scenes and stuff. The behind the scenes isn't, you know, looking at Terrellian as he is as a real person, but another camera in game behind all the guys in game. That would be pretty awesome.
You could do a really bad horror movie, and then behind the scenes of it. Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, that could be, and like a derelict ship and everything. The player interaction prototype though, it was pretty awesome. The first thing they're showing here is what looks like cups on the table.
I mean, I think they're setting up 4 shots for us.
Hand. Yeah.
I think they're setting up some shots for a party.
I'm pausing it here. I'm rewinding this for 1 second. I pulled this up on my stream. What does this weapon look like to you?
The gun in Star Wars.
Yeah, like 100%.
Yeah.
Star Wars blaster. I'm actually going to Google Star Wars blaster right now and pull up an image. And we're gonna here. Let's take a look at this one.
The second image.
That. And where is it? No, that's not it.
Oh yeah, it does look very blaster-like.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. Really
what does
cool.
It say
though.
that attachment is? I saw it real
It says
quick,
it's a
but I can't
grapple. This bottom part is a
It's a suppressor. Oh no, the
grapple mag.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The nose is a suppressor though.
Oh, there
It
you go.
looks like a compensator to me, but it could be a suppressor.
It says
it's a
suppressor.
suppressor. It does say suppressor.
Yeah. And something else they were talking about was the inventory system on the ships. Now this is the basic implementation of it, and they're actually using the smaller models of those things. But they'll be able to switch those models out with diagrams or whatever on that panel, so it would be a screen.
This was ancient. That was ancient. That's
yeah.
System that they're showing there. The new cargo system will basically there's going to be two types of thing in your ship. Okay. Cargo wise, there's going to be cargo that is in its place, so secured cargo, or cargo that is unsecured. So unsecured cargo is anything that's not in its place. So if you put a cargo container in a hallway, or if you put some rifles in a hallway, that is unsecured cargo. That has the potential to move around your ship, damage itself, whatever. But you're going to have your cargo bay. And putting your stuff, anything pretty much, I think, in the cargo bay in the correct area will secure it. But it will also be lockers. It will also be stuff like that. So that's all on the inventory management screen is the idea on the cargo manifest. But this was actually pretty cool. I really liked the way they talked about cargo here, because they were like, well, we did a few different things and then we kind of settled on a better way. It's nice to know they had it in mind from early on that all this sort of stuff would appear in a manifest, because at the end of the day, we don't want to do SimCitizen. We don't want to be micromanaging fucking everything.
This was really cool too here, where they showed this panel, and they showed that you could not only be right in front of it, but you could also move off to the side of it and control it from the side. So they look at it from the side and they start controlling the sliders and everything from that. So you could have several people possibly around a screen that's important of whatever's going on, and you could have several people controlling things.
That was one of the big features that they spoke about, was you don't have to be as close to things, and you don't have to get locked into them for them to function for you. It's as soon as you, and this is something that we can start talking about now if you want, is as soon as you go into interaction mode, which I'm not sure how I feel about it yet, but you can start interacting with things. So it brings up a cursor, and the big thing that they said is that everything's going to be cursor based now instead of, what is it, like raycast based on where your eyes are looking, which is what we currently have. It'll be raycast based on where your cursor is, plus just what interactable items are near you.
So yeah, now it uses a mixture of raycast and collision geometry. So that and also works out what you were looking at before and what you were moving to and stuff. It takes a lot of stuff into
play, but
and then works out what you're clicking
on. One of my questions for this was, how much resources is that going to use? But that being said, that is only active when you're in that mode.
Probably not very many though.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a lot. But
doesn't need to render anything.
Yeah,
it's just calculations.
Now, one of the things we're looking at here is when you do select something, you get this yellow outline and sort of whatever, and that's fair and everything. It's good to see what things are accessible and what things aren't. But one of the things here is we can see that this the helmet from quite a distance is kind of glowing, and you can interact with these things, or what things you can interact with. Now, do you think that is going to be something that they're going to sort of tweak, so it's only when you're closer to those items?
It's not collision geometry. I don't know what I was talking about there. It's proximity group.
Proximity.
That's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
So, I mean, again, it's work in progress, but maybe the proximity is not working right now in this picture that we have paused.
Right.
Because, I mean, that's obviously, you can't reach that helmet from there. You can't reach that box from there.
Well,
yeah,
the reason
you can interact with it.
Yeah, but this is the reason I bring it up, is if you're in a derelict spaceship and it's dark and it's foggy and you can't see stuff, and you're like, oh, I'll just turn on the interaction system to see where things are.
Why don't you turn on a flashlight?
well, if it's foggy, it's not going to help you, right? But I'm just saying is that it's something that's it has the potential to be a little bit game breaking if you can see it from
not really, because
if you can see it from across the room.
No, so it depends on the way you think of it. So if this is supposed to be being drawn on your HUD in your helmet, then it's not game breaking. It's a feature of your mobiGlas.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if it's detecting something, the issue is that why is it detecting certain objects and not others?
Right. Right. And it looks like it is, like in this, they just showed, you know, it wasn't until you got close or hovered over it that it sort of showed up. This was really interesting too, the install surveillance bug and flush log file and download the schematics and things. So download schematics might be giving you the map. Remember how they showed that 3D map before in the corner?
Yeah.
In the FPS stuff.
I just like there's lots of this going on that you can decide what to do. You could have potentially, like it says, install surveillance bug and stuff. You could potentially get onto another player's ship to install a surveillance bug to, like a couple of weeks later, attempt to rob them.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like I just want to see that kind of interaction and functionality is. I want to see where they flesh that out to. It's nice ideas. I know that in Squadron 42, there's going to be loads of different ways of completing each of the missions. Possibly, anyway, potentially. So that's the sort of things that we'll be able to decide as we go. They give us all the tools we need to complete the missions in multiple ways, is what we've been told.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, was there anything else further in this video that you want to talk about? Or I know the next section is going to be a little bit, and I know that you're on a time crunch. So, was there anything else you wanted to cover?
Just the fact that you have to hold F to go into interaction mode and then a cursor comes up. I mean, the whole thing about the game is to be immersive, and right. I don't know how I feel about that idea. Like, I know a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, yes, it's first implementation. It's not even first implementation. It's work in progress. So, like, these things floating and spinning, and maybe that's not how it's going to look in the final release of the game, but like we were talking about this before the podcast. We don't have a better solution for it. Like I see why they're doing it, but I wonder. I'm curious to see when it is implemented how immersion breaking it'll be.
Well, right. I mean, so I think that obviously we're going to be using a lot of different hotkeys for the basic functions. I'm assuming that there'll be quick interact where you can go up to a door, for example, and although there's going to be loads of contextual options like lock door, open door, wedge door shut, stuff like that. If you tapped F, it would do the most common function, which would be open door, and then close door when it's open, stuff like that. So this sort of system, they are investing a lot of time and effort into. So you've got to assume that it's going to be as user-friendly as possible. And if it's not, when we get our hands on it, we need to tell CIG exactly what's wrong with it and exactly what will make it more user-friendly. And that's what this community is very good at. We're very good at saying, actually, that's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good segue into the next section, right? So
speaking of things that aren't right, oh man,
yeah.
Oh yeah. Man. Yep. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring up what we will now call the post.
It's not bad anymore, though. They flip-flopped and actually kind of made a lot of people happier.
I mean, it's still not great.
Less ragey.
I think it makes perfect sense.
It's a lot better for sure. I just think that. Okay, well, for those of you who don't know, May 12th was what? What day was that?
Friday.
That was last Friday. Okay.
That was the biggest issue with it, is that this post came out on a Friday.
Yeah. So they announced on Friday, while they were doing all their ARG stuff for the Eclipse, that not only this is the price of the next ship, but that also the base price for CCUs is going to be $5. And at first, a lot of people were like, "Oh, okay, so it's going from the $0 CCUs are going to $5 CCUs." Okay. Then it was found out that it's not just the $0 CCUs; it was all CCUs were going up by $5 to prevent what they were calling flooded database of 1.1 million extra CCUs that weren't being used. So they said 1.1 million unused CCUs were in their system, and that they also wanted to balance ships. Now, that was there were a few things that were wrong with this, in my opinion. Number one, they didn't really interface with the community. They just sort of said this. There was no...
Snuck it in.
It wasn't like they were talking to us. It was like they were talking at us. Right? You know what I mean? So there wasn't... They obviously knew there was an issue with CCUs. And it would have been nice if they had have said something. I kind of understand why they didn't. But it would have been nice if they had said something to the community, being like, hey, you know, it looks like a lot of people are hoarding on CCUs and it's sort of bogging down our systems for whatever reason. We want to find a solution that everybody's going to be happy with. They didn't do that, and they went and did this. Now,
I don't think they thought it was going to cause any form of outcry. They just didn't think.
Let's think about it from their point of view. The hoarding of CCUs, especially $0 CCUs, is not what the CCU system was intended for.
Yes.
And a lot of the CCUs that are $0 that are being hoarded are concept ships, and then that also circumvents the whole concept sale system. So it's circumventing all the things that the marketing team is working on and trying to do. For example, a ship like the Eclipse is coming out on Friday, right? If there's $0 CCUs for that ship that I can hold forever, I can essentially buy that ship whenever I want, and that circumvents the whole point of it. So from their perspective,
but at the same time,
it's not.
If you've spent that $275, you should be entitled to that, in my opinion. This is something that they implemented in the first place.
I disagree.
Number one, and then number two, the reason that they said that they don't want people bouncing around as ships was saying they want to balance the ships in the way, I mean, which I think is the dumbest thing ever. Because those ship numbers are going to change a week in, a month in, a year in. Those numbers are going to fluctuate on whatever the best ship, quote unquote, is going to be in the game. That excuse is garbage. And they should, if they're doing that, they shouldn't be doing that.
Of those 1.1 million CCUs, I think it was over 1.05 million were $0 CCUs that were unused.
Right.
And a lot of people were hoarding, continuously crossing over chassis. So you'd buy like a Gladiator to Super Hornet and then keep on going back. So you could just keep on switching indefinitely because they have 8,000. And obviously it is a small percentage of people that are doing that, but they wanted to plug the holes with exploits in the CCU system as well. There are ways that people could have, if you, for example, predicted what ships are going to go up in price at what times, be able to jump from a $195 ship to a $350 ship without...
Now, while I'm not one of those people, I have a couple of $0 CCUs, and it's just from the yellow to the black. But my argument towards that is when you're backing for a ship, and we all know that everybody's backing for a ship. Nobody would be putting in the amount of money in, right? We know that. If you're backing for a ship and those ships are not flyable, those things aren't in game, you don't know if you're going to enjoy the gameplay for it. That's sort of where I look at it from. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here and say, how about that stats page, right?
Yeah.
We don't
ships that we can buy in game in 3.0.
Right, exactly.
How about just the like going to the Dragonfly? There was a yellow one and a black one.
Right.
How
so
do you
I
know
have the
which one
black
you're
ones.
gonna like.
Right.
But how do you know that you're not like when it comes out in game? You're not gonna go, damn. You know what? I really wish I had a yellow one.
Exactly.
But you can get it in game. That's what the problem is that
people
are really
indecisive. I get that. But the thing is okay, think of, and this is sort of the outlier thing that I was thinking of. You know, it has nothing to do with LTI. Yeah. It has to do with game packages. And the fact that game packages are only on a handful of ships, right? I personally think that any ship over $45 should come with the game. That's my opinion. I would solve this. They could just get rid of CCUs entirely with that, melt your ship and get a different one. Solve it entirely.
The only thing is LTI, and I agree with you. LTI is not something that you should be paying attention to.
It's something they want to have less of it. We know they want to have less of it, and they know they've made a mistake with it, and we know the only reason that these ships sell as concept is because they're coming with LTI, right? So if you do it so they still have LTI as a concept ship, but if you go to trade it later on, then sure, you know, you melt your ship, you get it, you just get it with its normal insurance or whatever. But the problem is, if you a perfect example is a Gladius and a Hull B. Two completely different types of ships, two completely different types of gameplay. Right now,
a lot of user CCU upgrades for that.
Right. So we know what the Gladius sort of feels like. It's actually like one of the most polished ships we have right now, right? And usually gets a lot of the updates first when it had like the different damage states and everything like that. The Hull B, we have no idea. We don't know what the gameplay is going to be like. We don't know how the ship flies. We don't know how it feels. We don't know any of that. So, and they're the same price, right? So if you weren't sure, so you pick up a Gladius and you're like, okay, well, if all else fails, I know this ship's going to be all right, but I'm really looking forward to the Hull B, but I don't know what the Hull B is going to feel like. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy that kind of gameplay when it's in. We need to see what those decisions are going to be made like. I just think that the timing for this was off.
This is all academic because... Let's go on to the next bit, because they've changed what they wanted to do with the CCUs.
Right, and it still sort of affects what I just said, which is why I brought up that argument. So the CCU change is, well, why don't one of you guys go over what the CCU change is, actually?
I'll let you go, Bored.
Yeah, no worries. I've just unmuted the stream so I can hear myself talking, which is really disconcerting. So what they've done with the CCUs now, they still want to alleviate the problems and exploits of those CCUs being hoarded, but people got very angry. A lot of people they were like, "We're being."
Yeah, before we go into the change, do we want to talk about how the community responded to the?
Well, yeah, we were discussing now. We're discussing now.
Okay, yeah.
I can pull it up.
A lot of people were very polarized by this. Some people were like, "Don't care, I'm not buying ships." Some people were like, "I've bought all of the ships in the world. This is actually pissing me off, even though I probably won't change ships." And a lot of people didn't want to be, as they referred to it, as nickel and dimed, paying an extra $5 tax if they wanted to continually CCU. Now, I did feel personally that it wouldn't affect too many people that much, because you can just melt a ship and rebuy the ship that you wanted. But
you would lose your LTI if it was a concept ship.
Yeah, like you'd have to pay that $5 extra, or whatever. But obviously, if it was the you'd have to buy that $5 tax to keep your LTI. But there is an issue, and there's still an issue, even with the new system, with people that want to buy lots of ships from, if they've got a big package of ships. So if they've bought a huge, like, collector's edition or whatever, one of the huge ship packages, like all of the ships, $10,000, whatever, they can't melt down that package to buy a new ship. They have to pay the tax to upgrade their ships.
Yeah.
So for them, that's quite bad if they want a zero CCU upgrade. But what did you guys think of the way the community reacted? Because a lot of people I'd quite congratulate the community for some people were a bit aggressive, but they got what they wanted.
Overall, I congratulate the community, because when you feel like you're being wronged, I'm glad that they stood up and said, I feel like I'm being wronged. It really came down to, it was terrible timing.
Yeah.
If they did said a different time, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. But also, they needed to do it the way it is now, and not the way that they did it.
Right. But this is the thing. You know, I think they could have done it the first way. In all honesty, they could have done it that way. Same thing with the referral program. They should have announced both of these things when 3.0 drops to either a public PTU or to the public as the public build.
And we've gone through this 100 times.
If you looked at what I just showed there, it was 7 pages of people complaining about CCUs. And the reason is there's nothing else to focus on right now. So all of the laser focus, and if you're going to put out something negative, showing some ship stuff and more ship sales isn't a positive. It's not going to be the positive to sort of distract from that, or maybe that's not a good word, but like be able to justify these things. Right now, it's been quite a while without any new content. People are getting really, really impatient, and obviously hyping themselves up for 3.0. And when we're really a month, maybe 2 months away from getting that 3.0 to the PTU. You know, I think they could have waited. And I think it's one of those things where they're either not paying attention to the community or they just don't care. And I
think it's neither. I think they just didn't know it was that big a deal to the community.
Well, that's what we're trying to say. How do you
Right.
not know that it's going to be that
how would
big
you
of a
not
deal?
know that,
How
though?
disconnected how would you
That's what
not
I'm
know
saying.
that that would not be a big deal? You must be disconnected.
There's a reason there's 7 pages of, like, this is the thing. I don't need CCUs for any of my ships. I have everything I want. I'm happy. But as a in general consumer thing, it just felt just really bad timing. Just really bad.
I don't think they realised about the amount of people that do switch between them and stuff like that. So
I mean, but it's right there. Just look at it. Right? It just comes down to, again, and I'm.
It's the same thing with referrals,
I'm
and they
not
heard
big
that
on
feedback
bashing
from
CIG, but at the same time, like, you put it out on a Friday where there's no ATV to watch. I mean, at the moment we don't have any additional gameplay outside of 2.6, right? So you put it out on a Friday and it's gonna rot all weekend. And then there's not going to be many people there to respond to it. And it's just going to sit there and rot. And we're going to get angrier and angrier and angrier until there's a response on a Monday. Or, for example, they turned it back on Tuesday. So they probably had a discussion on Monday and then actually came out with a response on Tuesday to fix the issue. But you must be disconnected. Like, there's no way that it's anything other than that. To implement this without knowing the amount of outrage there would be.
The perfect example is look at the feedback that happened with the referral system.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, there was things with the referral system that were obviously just in poor taste, and they were disconnected there, and then even responded to the fact that they were maybe a little bit disconnected with that, and said, you know what, maybe we'll improve it as we go on, blah, 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 blah.
There's one or two things I'd like to see from CIG with this sort of stuff. Either they doubly vet their stuff and think, how is this going to affect the community?
The community.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. The second thing they could do is say, we want to do the end goal for this particular thing we want to do with the CCU system or the referral system is do this. We're planning to do this. What do you guys think at the moment? Because we're malleable. And then they would get less community rage, because even if they decided something, they could at least say that they've listened to the community. And they could come up with a much better answer.
There was somebody that I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, it's all good.
There was somebody that posted on the Reddit that, and I thought this is a really good thing that we need to make sure that we say, is this was a very clear mistake by whoever made this decision in whatever department, assuming it's the marketing department, okay? I don't know who made the decision. I don't care who made the decision. What I care about is, don't shit on the developers that are working their ass off every day to make this game happen. Like, don't shit on CIG as a whole, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't CIG's fault. This is a singular or a small group of people.
Ship design or level design.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people that are
UI.
working their ass off to make this game awesome and make it happen. And I feel like there's a lot of negativity forced at all of them when things like this happen. And I want to make sure that, like, somebody posted that on the Reddit, and that really kind of resonated with me and really stuck with me, was that don't be negative at the game as a whole. Don't be negative to the game because somebody had a hiccup. And it's a small mistake.
I would also
in the long term, it's a small mistake, right?
Don't be angry at anyone for this sort of thing. Be concise and constructive with your
feedback.
Don't blame anyone. Just say, this is a better solution. You shouldn't do that. That's stupid, or whatever. Yes. And then we do get either our way or a more sensible option appearing. Because the current system, although not perfect, they've started to talk about, it is better than what they were discussing before. So. Because they're going to eliminate the $0 CCUs from concept sales, starting with the Eclipse on this Friday, on the 19th. So if you do have a ship of equivalent value, you're going to have to use store credit. Now, as I said before, people with large packages of ships, that is not an appropriate option for, because they're going to have a load of ships that they can't melt that package, because that would be insane. So they do need to think of a few things.
I assume those people can contact support and have.
But they don't want that either, really. I suppose.
I don't think support wants that.
Yeah.
the support wouldn't want that. But I suppose there's a very few amount of people that would be relevant for anyway.
Yes.
So in the longer term, so the second part of this operation, but basically they're phasing out $0 CCUs, is that they will expire unused $0 CCUs from the system at some point.
They haven't given us a time scale yet.
Well, they implied before 3.0 comes out. So I'm assuming probably 3.0 live release would probably be like the last time, maybe.
Well, what I didn't understand was, would they expire on the release, or would they start expiring after a certain amount of time? Because $0 CCUs are still going to exist, is how I understood it. Like, I could still $0 CCU.
I think there's still some confusion with how it's going to work.
No. So I think from now onwards, they're not planning to have CCUs.
So they said from Friday.
From Friday.
So then they didn't resolve the issue at all. So I would still have to pay $5. So it was my understanding that $0 CCUs would still exist. So I just will not be able to cross
they would
chassis
exist, but they would just
here's the thing.
They would only last for I thought I thought we're gonna have to look at the post again, because I was under the understanding that they still existed, but then they deteriorated over time. So
you have to be able to cross chassis
after a week or something, or 2 weeks.
You have to be able to cross chassis between an Alpha and an Aurora.
Yeah, 100%.
You have to be able to.
Like a Gladius and a Hull B, like I said.
Yeah, but like, let's think about the starter ships. I mean, you're talking about ships that aren't starter.
Right.
Like, your point makes sense, but the vast majority of people are going to have those two ships. You have to be able to swap through them if you want. It's
so I'm in favor of cross chassis upgrades for the Alpha and the Mustang being $0 and being acceptable. And if they're desperate, that they're worried that there's going to be exploits, then make the $0 upgrades $5 and allow them still.
I would have been okay with. I would have been okay with that.
Could one of you guys do me a favor and post that link in the chat? And also, Bored, when you make this video, I'll remind you if you could post the link under the channel as well, so people can go and read this for themselves as well. I think that would be pretty important. We are kind of strapped for time, so I do want to move on to questions because we do have quite a few in there. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch base on this?
No, I think there was a lot of pitchforks, which was a little excessive. And I just want to go back to the point that me and Bored both said, was like, more be constructive. And I want to chant, like,
feedback is good, but
the community was champions. They were champions this weekend, and I'm happy with the way they acted in the most part. But obviously, I think people were a little too.
You can have the most noble of causes twerk, and you'll get some guy going, "Kill yourself, weeb." Like, it's gonna happen. It doesn't matter what it is. But yes, it was. I love seeing constructive feedback. I love the fact that when I was talking about it on like Reddit, and people were like, "Well, actually, it affects the people with these packages and stuff like that." I was like, "Oh, I didn't really think about that." But this system that they've even put down isn't fully appropriate, and hopefully they are going to be malleable to changing it slightly more and getting it more fleshed out.
And I think, like we've talked about, I think they should just disconnect the game packages from the ships. Yeah, either
like
entirely or
$35 game package.
Anything that's $35 or higher comes with the game. One of those two. I don't care how they do it. I think that's what they should do, and then they can just get rid of CCUs.
The biggest thing is I'm glad it happened with this. This is a very, very small, not that big of a deal thing. It obviously turned out to be something
Imagine
big.
They said, "Oh, hey, we're going to do subscriptions."
Or whatever, you know.
Right?
I'm glad that they decided that this is the thing that the community just went fucking bonkers about. And then hopefully it wakes people up and there's more checks and balances, whether it's we should talk to some of our most loyal backers, or you know, I don't know if this was just thrown out there one day and you know, like, did Chris Roberts even okay this? Like, we don't know what happened, right? So I'm just glad it happened today or this week with this thing, and going forward, if there's something more major that needs to get changed, that it'll probably go a bit smoother than this, you know.
Yeah, and the community will have their way. That's what we champion, community having their way about stuff. Not always.
Not always. Yeah.
Well, we don't have the vision, but this
I think when it comes to our enthusiasm, that they won't take it for granted again, you know? Because our enthusiasm ends up turning into money, but don't take advantage of it, you know? And that's kind of what it felt like was happening. And I don't think they did that on purpose. It's just...
Should we talk a quick bit about the Aegis Eclipse new teaser and its price?
Yeah, real quick before we go to questions.
Because
I don't think there's much to say. It's another concept ship. It's $275.
I know a lot of people are worried that it's going to take the place of the Retaliator.
Well, the Retaliator is supposed to be old in lore, so it makes sense that there might be a strategic fighter bomber that's a bit stealthy.
Right.
But it's a more military grade, smaller fighter.
Now, do you have a link to that video and I can pull that up?
Yes, I believe they put it back up again after taking it down.
I mean, what's the... People bought the Retaliator.
With the Retaliator, it's going to be a bit different from that.
But I guess we don't know.
Was the Retaliator also $275? They could just $0 CCU it. I don't know how much the Retaliator was. I don't remember. I just remember it was really pretty on the inside.
It's another combat ship. It's
the last of the combat ships for a while. So the rest of them are non-combat.
Did you post that link?
Actually, I think it's in the chat.
Oh, okay. That doesn't help me.
Oh, where do you want it?
In the dock, please and thank you.
Please put it in the dock like I asked you to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you. Appreciate it. And it did have a very much like Area 51 secret, much like maybe like the stealth bomber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it was connected to an in-law post that came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Was it the Historical Truth Act reveal thing? Yeah, it was. So it was like forum posts in law between a couple of people on the Gearheads, Zero G Gearheads forum, talking about what's the new Project Eclipse reveal going to be. And one of the guys was like, I work in a company that cleans video, and I found this possibly secret video of what appears to be an Aegis Eclipse. And it's like talks about it there and how that video went viral. So it's like explains what they've been doing with their silly viral advertising stuff. I actually quite like the silly Twitter posts.
Yeah, I like that stuff. I mean, it gets the community involved and everything. I wish they would do it for other stuff outside of just chip sales, because that's.
I'd like to see little ARGs, right now, like really simple ones that like took a guy a day to do. I don't want to see them spending loads of money.
What's an ARG?
Augmented reality game. So like, you hear stuff with Overwatch, like the Sombra ARG that people went mental about. I'm sorry if that offends.
Yeah, and they had a bunch of different like websites and codes and stuff like that. So you go to a website, it's a bunch of binary, and you'd have to decrypt it, and it would be a poem, and it would give you some clues, and then you'd have to go find like side of a Big Benny's in game. Like that would be really cool to have that kind of stuff.
When I've got some more time after next month, I am thinking about doing some Star Citizen based ARGs with possible like little game pack ship prizes and stuff. So I like the idea of it. I like the idea.
When we can have, if we can have those little pads in space and leave our own messages on them and leave them places.
Oh yeah.
Then you'll be able to do that, and you'll be able to take that out of game and back in and all kinds of really cool stuff.
Even better if we get those pads, but then we can record a render to texture thing with our voices and our character. How cool would that be? I'm not sure how plausible that is, but that would be pretty cool.
Okay, we have 20 minutes, and we have just over 20 questions. So
can we do 1 minute per question?
Can we do 1 minute per question?
Is that the first one? Yes. No, yes. I don't know. Oh god.
First question. Questions time. Questions.
First question from Cataphor says the Banu doesn't keep records, but humans do. And if Banu don't keep records, that wouldn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't remember stories, events, if they were there, etc. So you would like to have a player be able to contribute to lore for the Banu. It could be you find a bit of Banu tech or art on a planet, or some other race might have written something down about them on an old pad or something, etc. And even
is this a question or a story?
I don't see a question in it yet, but let's see.
Human historians are the best historians for the Banu, and their history only goes back as far as humans met them, but they are the most historical source for the Banu race. That's in law as well.
Yeah.
Humans,
This
humans
isn't
are
a
being
question,
stolen
by
from
the
them.
way.
Okay.
Okay.
Next question.
Next.
Koviet
One.
says, what advice would you give to a newer Star Citizen in terms of involvement, orgs, finding their niche, etc.? It's a big verse. Okay,
Oh.
so let's do one at a time. In terms of involvement, my suggestion would be if you're interested in being a part of the development process and having a voice in some of the things that happen and being able to see the patches as they come out and test things out, definitely pick up a game package. You do not need anything beyond a basic game package with an Aurora or a Mustang, and I would suggest honestly not doing that, especially with your next question. There's a lot of orgs out there with a lot of different gameplay types. So depending on what you want to do, whether it be combat or whatever, and some orgs cover a lot of things. Not only that, is I know every single one of us on this podcast, we're all in organizations that have at least 3 times as many ships as they do players. So not worrying about those ships that you have going into it. Finding your niche, it's kind of hard right now because we only have combat in the game. There's not a lot of, there's a little bit of exploration, but there's not a lot. There's no mining in there.
You can't find your niche yet.
It's not happening at this moment. But as we start to see 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, and those game mechanics come in, then you'll start to get a bigger idea for that. 3.0 is scheduled to go to Evocati in the early couple weeks of June, and looking to go into a public build around the end of June, early July. You can learn more about that by typing in ETA in chat. Next question is from Pixpew. Should CIG focus on content gameplay mechanics other than chips?
Yes.
They are. It's not in game.
Next.
The thing is the people who make the ships aren't the same people who make the gameplay. Although, once again, it comes down to timing, in my own personal opinion. I think something like this ship that they're announcing would be much better being announced at the same time that they're announcing that 3.0 is going to Evocati or something like that, instead of being pushed out when there's no content. Next question from Pixpew as well. They stated they're worried there might be too many ships, or at least too many of a rare ship. Should they stop selling ships and instead only sell fluff things like colors or skins and such? They do that
at some point.
They do that with some ships, right? Like the Phoenix.
They really need to just sell ships in game. They need to put that needs to be a push.
100%.
I don't mind them selling concept ships constantly. I don't mind 8 to 10 a year, as long as we get ships in game that we can buy soon with Alpha UEC, and that is important. I honestly think they will get more sales for all their ships as well, because people will be like, I really fucking want this ship. And to start with, and stuff like that. But we need our BBC to be able to purchase ships. We need it!
Yes.
Through my pen
Need. Duxie, question for the Redacted staff. Hi, that's us. Are there any features that are planned or in-game that you do not like the look of?
If they do survival mechanics, I will Falcon Punch someone.
Yes, we've talked about that.
Yeah, that's not really in game. I'm not a fan of the racing tracks at the moment, personally, but I know, like, for example, Torque really likes it, and there's other people who really like it. Yeah. The first one, right?
Yeah.
I think that needs a bit more polish, but I know that will. There's anything that's planned.
I like the idea of pretty much everything that's planned at the moment. We don't really know how it's going to turn out at the moment. I mean, originally people hated the scan system, so that scan system that was planned.
Right, a lot of it is very flexible and liquid, so it's hard to say right now.
I don't like the current implementation of Star Marine. There's no team deathmatch.
Yeah.
It's generic shooter 2.0. It's not Star Citizen at all yet. It's quite infuriating. It looks pretty, and it plays okay. But it doesn't have.
And the only game mode that's popular, people don't like playing the game mode, but play the game mode. It's really weird.
Once it gets those features in 3.0 onwards, we'll have a bit of a better unique game anyway.
Next question's from Winlord00. CCUs, why not just limit folk to one free CCU per account at a time until beta? My
Makes
suggestion was one free CCU per ship that they have on their account. They've already spent that money. Let them have the CCU.
Well, one free CCU per account makes sense as well, because you're going to play it and then get another one.
Yeah.
Nice and simple.
Yeah. Okay.
I
that
like
works
that
as
idea
well.
a lot.
I don't know what the fuck
I
is
don't-
so hard
there's-
about that.
There's so many other like
Better
good
options.
and they still sort of missed them all. Windlord also asks, do you not think the lunar shot where it pans across to the anomaly in space on the UK studio might not be a wormhole? We didn't show that.
It
That
was
was
like
a
a
little nebula. Yeah, that's what I thought it
Nebula.
was.
They were just showing off their volumetric stuff.
Yeah,
Now.
Pretty things in space. Woo!
shiny, pretty things.
I think it might not have been a wormhole. Yes. I'm not sure that sentence was a bit disjointed for my brain. I don't know if I've answered it properly. Next!
Have you ever considered having a non-streamer as a guest, such as Co-Carnage, Me, JP, etc.?
No.
That's not really what the podcast is. Our podcast is more about news for Star Citizen and not teaching people what Star Citizen is. We're more of up-to-date news on what's going on.
We
in
might
the
look at
community.
stuff like that once the game has tangible gameplay, and we can talk about with other people, like, what did you do in your org last week or whatever?
Mhm.
Like, and it's actually, that is more news because big things will be happening. But at the moment, no tangible gameplay, so Co-Carnage just go, yes, looks like a game.
Neat. Yeah, I got a game package. I tried playing it. I got 10 frames a second.
It
I
crashed.
figured I'd come back to it. That's fair. Call Me Crazy AE says, I heard that they will put different animations of thunder and lightning while entering atmosphere and stuff, and more with the 5K people. And I was wondering, will they prepare for the lag in dropping frames that is coming? Well, you probably shouldn't be running in 5K then.
That's a big amount of K.
That's a 5Ks. There's 5 of them. Yeah, if your system can't handle that, then you're going to need to turn down settings. That's the beauty of options.
Star
You're going to be able
Citizen's
to
going
do
to
that.
get more and more optimized as the game goes along. It's going to distribute its load with Vulkan's API across multiple CPUs. It's going to be able to offload a load of the GPU stuff. It's going to be massively optimized compared to what it is at the moment. But exactly how optimized and exactly what settings you're about to get on your monster rig remains to be seen.
Luke CIG says, Team Deathmatch, 1 life only, or Team 1 life only. I'm not sure what that means, but I would...
Well, the same thing, aren't they?
I think they're the same thing, but this is...
Think Counter-Strike.
This is my suggestion.
That'd be
is
nice.
Make it an option so we can choose. So for those people who want to play a 1 life only match, can play a 1 life only match. Maybe make that a toggleable thing in private matches. So
Well, you got to
can...
be careful because you can't have too many game modes because then you
Right,
split
that's
the
why I'm
community
saying
too
make
much.
it that's why I said make it a private match. Because then you're not
Oh.
splitting up the community. Right? So in public, have it like it is now. Just in infinite game modes on a timer or infinite lives on a timer and do that. But in private matches, make it an option where and make it an option through all game
disagree.
modes with that. Why not?
I would like to see...
Because
Team
not
Deathmatch
everybody can go on stream and
only.
say, let's get 12 people and play
But
together.
they can do that with their orgs.
But not everybody's in an org that has enough people to do that.
Right. But it's
It needs to be a public game.
Yeah, it has to be for public matchmaking.
Well,
At
that
this stage in the game's development,
my
it has to be
argument
for public
towards that
matchmaking.
would be is the PUBG private servers. If you don't know if you don't know a streamer, you're not getting on a private server with these different game modes.
PUBG has a massive player base.
It does.
around the
It
world
yeah.
constantly.
Okay. And you don't think Star Citizen will?
It doesn't at the moment.
It doesn't at the moment. But that's not my
We're talking
argument.
about a
Is
solution for
right.
now, though.
Is for private. It would be cool to check it out and do that.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
I
but
mean,
at the
without
moment, I think they need to be
creating
thinking
too
more for
many
public.
without creating too many public game modes, because we know the reasons that they don't want to do that is because it's hard enough getting people in the game modes we have now.
For me, I'd like to see team deathmatch with 1 life only for each person. I'd also like to see a VIP mode where you just have to kill 1 person on the team.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think if they're going to implement it for the first time and right now, I think it would just be infinite lives would be better. Personally.
Okay.
But we will both.
Because I want to see one life only, and I want to see medicine. I want to see people dragging people off to try and revive them and stuff like that. That's so important.
The medical system is going to be awesome.
Star Citizen, not an arcade shooter. I didn't sign up for Star Marine, even though it's supposed to be more arcadey as an arcade shooter. I want a bit more meaningful decisions.
Moving forward, Hessingen says, been thinking about it a bit and wonder how you think docking will work. Say you try to leave from the front of an Aegis, but the Aegis is moving too fast for you. Since your speed, I don't think any Aegis is going to be moving too fast for any ships that are docking on it. Since your speed would be relative to the universal grid, as soon as you leave the Aegis, would just catch up and pull you back in again. I just don't think those ships are going to be moving very fast. I think that the smaller ones are just going to be able to outrun them.
Yeah, I wonder what their cruise speed will be.
Well, what is the cruise speed of the Caterpillar? Right?
Fucking slow.
The Caterpillar is like 100. It's not.
I don't know what the cruise speed of the Caterpillar. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's slow.
The cruise speed of the Caterpillar is like 290.
Is it 290? And then the normal speed of it is 100. It's not very fast. Which is 290 is the normal speed of some of the faster ships. Without boost, right? Like a Buccaneer 710.
It's a good question because obviously in some situations the ship might be going slower, but
I mean, if he's talking about docking to take it over, you're going to be disabled before you dock with it.
Yeah.
So to catch up to a ship to dock with it, that shouldn't be an issue because you're going to need to disable it first, regardless. At least that's in their design mechanics way back.
Call Me Crazy says, will they make planets rotate? If yes, will it affect the locations of the cities and the planets? And we have to go around the planet because the city I want moved. Yep.
Yes. And yes.
And orbit. Rotate and orbit. And like eclipses might occur like naturally because of that.
Like in real life, like maybe only once every 3 months or something.
Well, they haven't got eclipses as a planned feature, but they literally said
just happen.
Yeah, it will just happen, I suppose. Which is cool.
Purple Cow says, anyone else have an issue with the newest version? Automatically open the game in windowed mode, and then when you're making it full screen, it restricts the monitor to 720.
Use a custom.cfg file.
Yeah. We have one on the Redacted forums. BoredGamer made it. If you want to link that, thank you, sir.
Find it.
Citizen Shenanigans asked Twerk17. Just curious, are you good at racing because you like it, or do you like it because you are good at it?
Oh.
I wasn't good at it. I liked racing, and then I got good at it. I like the way it feels so fast.
He likes the way it feels like in his pants.
Like, imagine going back to the way racing was at 300 meters. It'd be incredibly fun.
Yeah.
The races used to last 3 minutes. Now they last a minute and a half.
Yes, that cruise speed integration, after that integration, it's made racing much more technical. I quite like watching it. I don't like doing it myself. I'm not a massive fan of racing, but I like watching it.
I like to go fast.
Citizen Shenanigans goes on to say, do you think small cargo will be safe in the little cupboards and drawers and ships? They did say if cargo is not in the cargo bay, then all bets are off. Injury, damage, possible death.
If those little cupboards and storage areas are the correct storage areas for those containers, then yes. Like knives and forks and stuff, yes, that's fine. Put them in the drawer.
Maybe like a little medical pack or something like that. You can put it in the drawer or the whatever.
But items that are not in their correct area, so that aren't in storage lockers, aren't in cupboards,
that just don't fit.
Currently fly about. I'm assuming that this doesn't I'm assuming that trays and cups in the mess hall are the correct area.
Yeah, like I'm thinking they're trying to put a cargo box like in the hallway behind the pilot. You know, that's sort of also, why I think that stuff is going to come in. And
also, technically, if you left a gun on the ground just anywhere, like that's loose cargo, technically.
Yeah. Since interactions can't be used by multiple people, they can do board games and table games, can't they? It says the Astro Pub is going to be so cool in the verse. Okay.
Yeah, could be.
I think we're going to see some proper table physics games.
Yeah. Same thing, like
Got the
you
interaction
saw
system
how
for it.
they poured the drinks. You could do the same thing with cards. Have cards down, pick cards up. You don't need to
have that
make poker.
Star Trek tech chess on 3 fucking boards.
Yeah, you don't need to make the games. You just need to have the objects in game and the way to hold
So
them.
some stuff
You don't need to make the rules.
So yeah, you don't need to make the rules, but I would like some form of enforcement system somehow with certain things. I'd like to see a card game in there.
I'd like to see a card game, but I'd also like to see somebody just get pissed off and throw all the cards on the floor.
I suppose your Moby Glass could track it. Could track what's happening as well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Take all your money.
IDD says, with the upcoming CCU changes, could you still recommend a ship to someone new to Star Citizen?
Yeah,
my
I just
ship is
recommend the
always
starter package.
the starter package. What
Yeah,
one do
I
you
don't
like the
recommend
look
anything
of?
above it.
You like the look of the Mustang or the Aurora more? Pick that ship. Done.
If you fall in love with another ship, try and get it with rec, or try and play with it in game.
Earn it in
I
game.
recommend.
Ask someone to borrow
I
one
recommend to
in
people
chat.
that need to buy something else an Avenger Titan. That is my favorite starting ship.
Mhm.
Like $15 more or something. It's kind of the next stage up from the Aurora and the Mustang.
Squishy says, Max versus Taurus, beside jump point sizes, what is your verdict? I find the Connie series to be really sluggish in comparison to the Max. Yes, I know the Max and the Taurus have the same engines, but the Max is almost a third of the weight. Opinions, though. Don't look at stats, they're not true. I would say Taurus.
is going to be much larger.
Yeah, Taurus.
We don't have
on the Taurus.
Yeah, we don't have the Taurus or the Max in game yet. We only got the Constellation Aquila. No, Aquila, but it's the Andromeda.
Andromeda and the
And the
normal
Aquila comes
freelancer.
in 3.0.
Standard freelancer.
And if the sizes are anything to go off of, even the bigger size of the Max isn't going to be as big as the Constellation.
Well, at the moment, the Constellation is brewed as hell because of its missile platforminess. It's got all the missiles in the world that can constantly hurl at someone.
Mm-hmm. But I imagine he's looking at the Max or the Taurus via the cargo, and that's why he's looking at those ships in the first place.
Have to wait for a bit longer for the stats page before you can.
But I would still say if you're in between the two, get the Taurus.
Seems reasonable.
Agent 1213, do you guys ever think about when the game releases, the ships we have are all older? The UE ships will be newer and unavailable to us. Do you guys think these ships will be built out with interiors? Yes.
Yeah, I mean there'll be newer models of ships and stuff. They were talking about like the 2947 Hornet versus the current one that we have. So yeah, that'll happen. To what extent, I don't know if we know how much better one will be versus the other. It might just be like an updated kind of look more than anything.
And then he has another question saying, what do you guys think the price of the 600i will be and the size? Size of Constellation, 350.
Yeah, 350. That's their sweet point for selling ships, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say maybe size of a Constellation or a little bit bigger.
See, I think it's got to be a little bit bigger because it can't be Constellation Phoenix, can it? Like, you've got a luxury ship like that.
Well,
Phoenix,
but it can. I mean,
yeah,
it's not like
it can. You're right.
It can, yeah, it can. It just is going to be the origin version.
Yeah, it just needs. It's going to be in between.
Then,
like, if you look at the rough size of the 890 jump and the rough size of the 300, we know that the 300 is getting a rework, and the 890 jump obviously isn't in game yet. But if you take those rough dimensions, fit it somewhere in the middle. That's
fair enough.
basically where it's going to be. Do you think that the interior of the Carrack will be larger than the Starfarer? Current concept pics look less than a Connie. No, I think the Carrack's going to be quite large.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to store the Pisces and a rover, as well as multiple rooms: a medi room, a mapping room, loads of equipment, a hab area, a proper bridge. I mean, it's going to be a big ship.
If the UK gets it,
that's my favorite ship too. The Carrack is my favorite ship. I'm going to earn that in game so hard. Cataphor says, so my question about the Banu lore was, if you meet a Banu that tells you a story or find an artifact, could we upload it to the UE history library to contribute to the Banu history lore?
Oh, cool. Yeah, probably. That sounds cool.
Maybe.
If they add that mechanic in for players to add to the history and lore, then sure.
There will definitely be a website that tracks it, that player-made website. Someone will make that. So upload it to there until CIG go, hang on, this is cool.
Let's integrate it ourselves.
Yeah.
Agent 1213 says, will hangars exist in the final game, or will we dock ships like Port Olisar? Both.
Yep.
You'll have hangars both of your own, like we have now, and you also have hangars at stations, like we see at Grimhex. They aren't working right now, though. And then you also have open landing pads on Port Olisar.
And I believe hangars are being remade at the moment. Like, they want to integrate them into the verse, they're going to be remade.
Yeah.
And they're still talking about, are we going to have modular hangars? Are we going to have like super customization on hangars?
And how much customization and everything in terms of the different room systems and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
CH Wheel says, wouldn't just having unused concept CCUs expire at the end of the concept sale fix the issue of CCU hoarding, while still allowing people with multi-ship packages to get new ships without giving up their package like originally intended?
Well, you can just melt and get it then, I guess.
Not if they have a multi, like, for example, Captain Gloom brought up the issue of, I have a completionist package and that's all I have, but there's some ships in there I want to switch over.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
he can't melt anything. He has to CC upgrades, and if there's $0 he can't buy, then he can't change the ships, which is just dash.
Yeah.
Agent 1213 says, will NPCs have a day life cycle if on board your ship? They're going to have a day life cycle on everything. Probably not in their first implementation. But, yeah, they will. And our last question. And this is also from Agent 1213. Will oxygen on board your ship limit how many crew you can have?
They had mentioned that could be a limitation.
Yeah, it makes
life
sense.
Support will be.
Yeah. So you can't triple pack your ship for a long period of time because you will run out of oxygen.
So there you go. That is it for this week's Redacted podcast. Where can people find you, and what are you up to this week?
I don't have anything planned. I'm probably going to be playing a lot more PUBG and yeah, I just the only game I'm enjoying at the moment. And you guys can find me at twitch.tv/Torque17 and at Twitter at Torque17Gaming.
There you go. And BoredGamer, same questions for yourself. What are you doing?
Well, you can find me at BoredGamerUK on the Twitters, on the YouTubes, and on the Twitch. I don't stream much. I'm planning to stream again more. I've been super shattered recently. I'm pretty lazy as a streamer. I'm very sorry for anyone that is subscribed to me. But I'm going to continue my torrent of Star Citizen content. I'll be playing around with Track IR, Ed Tracker, and Track No Face IR, whatever it's called, and some other things tomorrow to get a guide up on all the different head tracking systems for Star Citizen. Other than that, I've just got stuff with the item system 2.0 and interaction system planned, and just covering the news in general. So check me out if you want Star Citizen news up to date and a man that looks like an egg with a beard. That's pretty much what I am.
Quick question: are you going to be joining me for that thing that I talked about earlier?
Yeah, we can do it quick. I can pop on quick.
Yeah, I was going to do it in like 15-20 minutes.
I'll go check on my brother to make sure it's all good.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know. Yeah, so I'm going to be streaming right after this. We're going to jump into some Star Citizen for about 20 minutes here. And then I want to talk about some stuff. So let's do that. I'm going to jump over there now. Thank you so much, everybody who came by for the podcast. Very much appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Redacted.